The first sound I heard wasn't my bone snapping. It was my sister Ashley's laugh, cold and sharp as the black ice beneath me on my parents' driveway in suburban Denver, Colorado. I'm Chloe Martinez, 32, single mother to 6-year-old Leo, and as of 3 weeks ago, unemployed. Tonight is Thanksgiving, a holiday meant for gratitude, but for me, it's always been a reminder of where I stand in my family, at the bottom. The house sits in Cherry Hills Village, one of Denver's wealthiest neighborhoods. My parents' estate is a sprawling brick colonial with white columns and a circular driveway. Tonight it's packed with luxury vehicles. Ashley's husband's Tesla, my father's Lincoln Navigator, my mother's white Mercedes. I pulled up in my 2008 Honda Civic with its check engine light glowing, feeling judgment radiate from the windows. Inside, crystal chandeliers cast light over hardwood floors. The dining table seats 14, set with delicate china. Everything is perfect. Golden turkey, matching serving bowls, precisely angled wine glasses. Ashley stands by the fireplace in cashmere and designer jeans, blonde hair in perfect waves. She's 35, 3 years older, and never lets me forget she got the looks, brains, and fortune. Her husband Derek is a commercial real estate developer making more monthly than I've made all year. My mother, Eleanor Martinez, glides through like she's hosting a gallery opening. At 60, she looks 40 thanks to surgery and twice-weekly training sessions. She wears silk, tailored slacks, and real pearls. My father, Richard, sits in his leather chair like a king. 63, retired from investment banking, spending his golden years at Denver Country Club. He looks at me like a stain on carpet. Leo and I arrived an hour ago. My son wore his best Target outfit and carried the pumpkin pie I'd baked from scratch. My mother took it with 2 fingers, said, "Oh, how quaint, homemade," then set it aside, not with the other desserts. Before dinner, Ashley's daughter Madison, 8, played Chopin. My mother wiped tears and said, "Such talent, such refinement." When Madison finished, Leo asked if he could show his drawing from school, our family holding hands under a rainbow. My mother glanced at it for half a second. "That's nice, dear," in the tone of not really listening. My father didn't look up from his phone. During dinner, the comparisons began. Ashley announced Derek had surprised her with a new diamond ring. My mother gasped with delight, examining the grape-sized stone. "Oh, darling, it's stunning." My father toasted their success. Then my mother turned to me, smile sharp. "And Chloe, dear, how is the job search going?" Every eye turned toward me. "I have a few leads. I'm hopeful something will come through." My father set down his wine with a heavy clink. "Chloe, you're 32. You have a child to support. This isn't the time to be hopeful. When are you going to get it together and stop embarrassing this family?" "I was laid off, Dad. It wasn't my fault. The whole department was cut." "There are always excuses with you," he said, shaking his head. "Ashley never had these problems. She went to business school, married well, built a life. What have you built?" Ashley leaned forward with false sympathy. "Chloe, maybe if you'd made better choices, you wouldn't be in this situation. Having a baby with a man who abandoned you? That shows poor judgment." I clenched my fists. "Ashley, that's not fair." "Life isn't fair, sweetie, but some of us plan ahead, some of us make smart decisions." My mother chimed in, voice light but cutting. "Well, at least Chloe has Leo. Even if she can't provide him with the advantages Madison has, he's a sweet boy." Leo was sitting right there. He was 6 years old and heard every word. I watched his little face crumple, but I didn't say anything. I never did. I forced a smile. "Thanks, Mom." The meal continued. Ashley talked about their Aspen vacation for Christmas. My mother discussed her charity gala. My father talked golf. I stayed quiet, feeling smaller every minute. After dinner, Leo accidentally knocked his dessert plate off the table. My pumpkin pie landed face down on the Persian rug. My mother shrieked like someone had been murdered, dropping to her knees to dab at the stain. "Eleanor, it's just a rug," I said, pulling Leo close. "It was an accident." "Just a rug? This is from Iran. It's worth more than your car, Chloe. Do you know how hard it is to get pumpkin out of hand-knotted wool?" "I'm sorry," Leo whispered, tears streaming. "It's okay, baby. It was an accident." My mother stood, still holding the stained napkin. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't teach him to be careful. And now look what's happened." Ashley appeared. "Honestly, Chloe, you need to control your child. Madison would never do something like this. He's 6 years old. Kids make mistakes. And parents are supposed to teach them not to." I wanted to scream. Instead, I took a breath. "We should probably get going. It's getting late." "Good idea," my father said from his chair, not even getting up. "Drive safe." I gathered our things while my mother fussed over the rug. Ashley hugged Madison, praising her perfect behavior. I stood in the foyer holding Leo's hand, feeling like an intruder in a house where I'd grown up. As we were leaving, Ashley stopped me. She looked down at my old, scuffed boots. "Are those from Goodwill or something? You really should take better care of yourself, Chloe. First impressions matter." I didn't respond. I just walked out into the cold November night. What hit us was more than the forecasted chance of snow. It was a full blizzard. The wind howled, whipping snow into my face. The temperature had dropped at least 20 degrees. The driveway was now a sheet of black ice. Ashley emerged in her camel cashmere coat, clicking toward her Tesla with confidence. I followed slowly, holding Leo close. "Careful, baby. It's slippery." Then my foot hit black ice. 1 second I was upright, the next my feet flew out. I went down hard, my leg twisting unnaturally. I heard a sound I'll never forget, a sharp crack, dry and terrible, like a branch snapping. The pain was instantaneous and overwhelming. I screamed, falling backwards onto frozen concrete. Leo started crying immediately. "Mama, Mama." Through the haze of agony, I heard Ashley's laughter. Not shock or concern. Laughter, cold and cruel. "Oh my God, of course you'd fall. You're so clumsy." I looked up through tears, clutching my leg. Something was very wrong beneath my jeans. The bone had shifted, broken badly. I could see the bulge pressing against fabric. "Ashley, I think I broke my leg. Please, call an ambulance." She rolled her eyes. "Stop being so dramatic. Just get up." I can't move. Something's really wrong." The front door opened. My parents emerged with Derek and Madison. My father groaned like I'd inconvenienced him. "Chloe, for God's sake, get up. You're making a scene." "Dad, I can't. I think my leg is broken." My mother hurried over, but not to help. She looked at where I'd fallen and gasped. "Is that blood? Chloe, you're bleeding on the driveway." Blood was seeping through my jeans, dark against blue denim. My head swam. "Don't get any on Ashley's boots." My mother shrieked. "Those are Stuart Weitzman. Do you know how much they cost?" I stared in disbelief. I was lying on the ground, bones shattered, bleeding, and she worried about shoes. Ashley stepped closer. For a moment I thought she'd help. Instead, she nudged me with her expensive boot. "Get up, drama queen. You always do this. You always have to ruin everything and make it all about you. Please, please help me." My father stood above me, face twisted in disgust. "Chloe, this is ridiculous. Stand up right now. The neighbors are going to see this." "I can't stand up. My leg is broken." "Then crawl to your car," Ashley said coldly. "We're not standing out here because you decided to have a meltdown." Leo was hysterical, pulling at my arm, crying so hard he could barely breathe. "Mama, please get up." "I'm trying, baby." Then it happened. The moment that changed everything. My father walked to his navigator and opened the door. Headlights flooded the driveway, illuminating me like an actress on stage, sprawled with my twisted leg and spreading blood. My mother climbed into the passenger seat. Ashley and Derek ushered Madison into their Tesla. One by one, they got into their vehicles. "Wait, please, don't leave me here." But they did. They started their engines and drove away. My father's navigator rolled past so close I could have touched it. Ashley's Tesla glided by without slowing. They left me lying on frozen driveway with my 6-year-old son in the middle of a blizzard. The taillights disappeared into swirling snow. Suddenly we were alone. Leo collapsed beside me, sobbing. "Mama, I'm scared." "I know, baby, but we're going to be okay, I promise." My phone was in my purse in my car, 10 feet away but might as well have been 10 miles. I tried to stand, but pain was so severe I collapsed again, so I did the only thing I could. I started dragging myself across the ice, pulling with my arms, pushing with my good leg, while Leo held my coat. Every inch was agony. The broken bone ground against itself. Cold bit through my clothes. Snow piled up around us, but I kept moving, because I had to, because Leo needed me. Through the storm I could see a glow, the neon sign of a 7-Eleven, maybe half a mile down the road. It might as well have been on the moon, but it was a goal. I dragged us forward, inch by terrible inch, pull with the arms, push with the leg, breathe through the pain. Over and over, through snow so hard I could barely see 3 feet ahead, I started talking to Leo, telling him about camping with my grandparents when I was his age, about the stars and stories around the fire, about Grandma's hot chocolate with extra marshmallows. I told him we were on an adventure, like in our bedtime books. "Is it almost over, Mama?" "Almost, baby," I lied, "almost." I don't know how long it took. Time became meaningless. There was only cold, pain, and that 7-Eleven sign getting slowly, impossibly slowly, closer. When we finally reached the parking lot, I was beyond exhausted. My arms shook. My broken legs screamed. I'd lost feeling in my fingers and toes. But we'd made it. The store was warm and bright. A young man behind the counter looked up, eyes going wide with shock. "Oh my God, what happened to you?" "Please, call 911. I think my leg is broken." He grabbed his phone immediately, helping me sit near the door. Leo clung to me, shivering. The clerk brought towels and a first aid kit. "They're on their way. Just hang on. You're going to be okay." The ambulance arrived. Paramedics rushed in with a stretcher. They cut away my jeans to examine my leg, faces going grim. One woman with kind eyes held my hand. "We're going to get you to the hospital. You're going to be fine." They stabilized my leg and loaded me onto the stretcher. Leo rode with me, holding my hand the whole way. At the hospital, everything became a blur. Bright lights, people in scrubs, machines beeping, pain medication, making the world soft and fuzzy. I woke up hours later. My leg was in a cast from hip to ankle. Leo slept in a chair beside my bed, and standing near the door was a police officer, a woman with dark hair in a neat bun. She introduced herself as Officer Davis. "Miss Martinez, I need to ask you some questions about what happened tonight." I told her everything. About dinner, the fall, my family driving away in the blizzard. She took notes, expression darkening. "They just left you there? Your parents and sister?" "Yes. They left." Officer Davis was quiet. "Then, that's criminal negligence at the very least, possibly worse. They endangered you and your child. I'm going to file a report and recommend the district attorney press charges." "I don't want to cause trouble," I said automatically. Officer Davis looked at me with pity. "Miss Martinez, with all due respect, you didn't cause this trouble. They did. What they did was unconscionable. You could have died. Your son could have died. They need to be held accountable." The words sank in slowly. They need to be held accountable. For the first time, someone was telling me that what happened to me mattered. That I mattered. "There's something else. Social services will check in on you and Leo. Do you have anywhere safe to stay while you recover?" I thought about our cramped one-bedroom apartment, the stairs I'd have to climb on crutches, no job, no savings, a broken leg keeping me from working for months. "I don't know. I'll figure something out." Officer Davis nodded. "I'm going to connect you with Safe Haven, Colorado. They help single mothers in difficult situations. They can provide temporary housing, legal support, whatever you need. Would that be okay?" I wanted to say no, to insist I could handle it myself, but looking at Leo's sleeping face, I knew I had to be smarter than pride. "Yes, that would be very helpful. Thank you." She smiled, the first genuine smile I'd received in forever. "You're going to be okay, Miss Martinez. I promise." The next morning, my door opened. I looked up expecting a nurse and instead saw my parents and Ashley walking in, dressed immaculately. For a moment, no one spoke. I waited for an apology. Instead, my father cleared his throat. "We're here to discuss what happens next." "What happens next?" "Yes, this situation is unfortunate, but we need to manage it properly. I've already called our lawyer about suing the city for not adequately clearing the ice. With your medical bills, we could be looking at a substantial settlement." I stared at him. "You want to sue the city?" "Of course," my mother said. "Someone needs to be held responsible for your accident." "My accident? You mean the one where I fell and you left me to die in a blizzard?" Ashley rolled her eyes. "Stop being so dramatic, Chloe. We didn't leave you to die. We just thought you were being your usual attention-seeking self. How were we supposed to know you were actually hurt?" "I told you I was hurt. I told you my leg was broken. I was bleeding. Leo was crying. And you all drove away." "Well, we're here now," my mother said, tone suggesting I should be grateful. "We're trying to help, but you need to stop making this into some big tragedy. It's embarrassing." Something inside me snapped. It was like a wire pulled taut from my entire life suddenly broke free. All the years of bending, accommodating, making myself smaller, it all came rushing to the surface. I looked past them to where Officer Davis stood in the hallway. She'd stayed, waiting to see if I needed her. Our eyes met, and she gave me a small nod. I took a deep breath. "Officer Davis, can you please come in here?" She entered the room, her presence commanding. My family's attention shifted, confusion flickering across their faces. "Yes, Miss Martinez? I'd like to file for a no-contact order against these 3 people. I don't want them anywhere near me or my son." The silence was complete. My father's mouth opened and closed. My mother went pale. Ashley looked like I'd slapped her. "You can't be serious," my father sputtered. "I'm completely serious." "Chloe, don't be ridiculous," my mother said, voice tight. "We're your family." "No, a family doesn't leave someone lying on ice with a broken leg in a blizzard. A family doesn't drive away while their child is screaming for help. You're not my family. You're people who happen to share my DNA, and you've spent my entire life making me feel worthless. I'm done." Ashley stepped forward, face twisted with anger. "You ungrateful little bitch, after everything we've done for you." "What have you done for me, Ashley? Please, tell me, because from where I'm sitting, all you've ever done is make me feel small." Officer Davis cleared her throat. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Miss Martinez has made her wishes clear." "This is absurd," my father said, but there was fear in his eyes now. He was losing control. "If you don't leave voluntarily, I'll have security escort you out." They left, but not before Ashley hissed, "You're going to regret this, Chloe. We'll make sure of it." When they were gone, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Free. The next few weeks were a blur. Safe Haven, Colorado came through for me. They set me up in a small but clean apartment in a safe neighborhood, fully furnished and paid for 3 months. They connected me with a lawyer who helped file the no-contact order, which was granted. They enrolled Leo in a good school and arranged for a social worker to check in regularly. During recovery, while Leo was at school and I was alone with my thoughts, I started feeling something brewing inside. Not just anger, a sense of purpose, a realization that my story mattered, that there were probably thousands who'd experienced something similar. One afternoon, scrolling through social media, I came across a Reddit thread about toxic families. The stories were heartbreaking. Parents who favored one child, siblings who were cruel, family members who withheld love like a weapon. In the comments, people shared their experiences, finding solidarity and being heard. That's when the idea came. I created a YouTube channel and blog, both under the name The Black Ice Survivor. I kept my real identity hidden, using animation software and a voice modulator. I spent weeks crafting the first video, making sure every detail was accurate, every emotion raw and real. The video was titled, "My Family Left Me to Die in a Thanksgiving Blizzard. This is my story." I uploaded it Friday night and went to bed. Saturday morning, it had 10,000 views. By Sunday, 100,000. By Wednesday, over 2 million views and coverage on major news sites. The comments were overwhelming. Thousands shared their own stories of family betrayal. People thanked me for speaking out, for making them feel less alone. Some offered support and resources. But the video also caught attention in Denver. People recognized details I'd shared, the neighborhood, the weather, the Persian rug. People started putting pieces together, and while I never confirmed anything publicly, rumors began circulating. The second video was more strategic. I shared the voicemail Ashley had left me, complaining about having to pretend to care about Chloe's sad little life and calling me a burden we all wish would just disappear. I shared the email my mother sent 6 months earlier, telling me not to bring Leo to a family party because he wasn't well behaved enough for our social circle. Each piece of evidence was carefully chosen. I never showed faces or used real names, but I didn't have to. The story spoke for itself. Within a month, local news stations covered The Black Ice Survivor. One investigative journalist at 9 News Denver, Sarah Chen, became particularly interested. She reached out asking for an interview. At first I was hesitant. Going public meant giving up anonymity. But Sarah promised to be respectful, to focus on broader issues of family abuse, and to let me maintain control over my narrative. I agreed. The day of the interview, I was terrified. Sarah came with a small crew to my apartment while Leo was at school. She was professional but kind, asking about my childhood, the patterns of favoritism and emotional abuse. She asked about Thanksgiving night in detail. What do you want people to take away from your story? I thought for a long moment. I want people to know that it's okay to walk away from toxic family members. We're taught that blood is thicker than water, that family is everything, that we have to forgive and forget. But some people don't deserve forgiveness. Some people don't deserve access to our lives. And walking away isn't selfish or wrong. It's survival. The interview aired on a Tuesday evening. I watched it at home with Leo, heart pounding. They'd blurred my face and distorted my voice, but the story was all there. The response was immediate and overwhelming. My phone started ringing with calls from other news outlets, podcasts, talk shows. Safe Haven, Colorado reported donations pouring in after people saw the interview, enough to fund operations for a year. My YouTube channel exploded, gaining hundreds of thousands of new subscribers overnight. But the most significant response came from Denver's social circles, the same circles my family had worked so hard to be part of. Sarah Chen, who'd become something of a friend, kept me updated on what she was hearing. Ashley's husband Derek lost a major commercial development deal after his business partners said they couldn't work with someone whose family values were questionable at best. The partnership was worth millions, and without it, Derek's company took a serious financial hit. Ashley herself was quietly removed from the board of the Denver Museum of Art. Her exclusive book club disbanded after members said they felt uncomfortable associating with her. The junior league chapter she belonged to suggested she take a step back. My father was forced to resign from the country club board. The official reason was wanting to focus on personal matters, but everyone knew the real reason. My mother had the most publicly humiliating experience. She was confronted at Whole Foods. A woman approached her in the checkout line and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You're Eleanor Martinez, aren't you? The one who told her daughter not to bleed on the shoes? You should be ashamed of yourself." My mother apparently left her cart and fled the store, crying. I heard these stories, and I felt complicated. Part of me was satisfied. These were people who'd measured their worth by status, and now that status was crumbling. They were finally experiencing consequences. But another part felt sad. Not for them exactly, but for what could have been. For the family we might have been if they'd chosen love over image. The confrontation came on a Thursday afternoon in March, 4 months after Thanksgiving. I was picking Leo up from his new school when I saw them. My parents and Ashley were standing by the parking lot entrance, clearly waiting. My heart raced. I pulled out my phone, ready to call Officer Davis. But before I could dial, Ashley started shouting, "You've ruined everything. Do you have any idea what you've done to us?" Parents picking up children turned to stare. I kept my expression calm and reached back to make sure Leo was safely behind me. "You need to leave. There's a no-contact order." "We don't care about your stupid order," my father said, stepping forward. "We're going to sue you for defamation. You've destroyed our reputation with your lies." "They're not lies. Everything I shared is documented. The voicemails, emails, the police report, all of it is true and you know it." "You made us look like monsters," my mother said, voice breaking. She was crying, actual tears running down her face. "We're your family, Chloe. How could you do this to us?" "How could I? You left me on the ice, Mom. You drove away while I was lying there with a broken leg, bleeding, in a blizzard. You cared more about Ashley's boots than about whether I lived or died. And now you want to play victim?" Ashley's face twisted with rage. "You always were a manipulative little bitch. You've poisoned everyone against us with your sob story." "It's not a sob story. It's the truth. And I'm sorry if the truth makes you uncomfortable, but that's not my problem anymore." Several other parents had started recording on their phones. I could see them holding up devices, capturing this confrontation. Part of me wanted to tell them to stop, but another part knew this was important. Let everyone see what my family was really like. "We can fix this," my mother said suddenly, switching tactics. "We can go to therapy together. We can work things out. Please, Chloe, don't throw away your family over one mistake." "One mistake?" "Mom, it wasn't one mistake. It was 32 years of being treated like I didn't matter. 32 years of being compared to Ashley and coming up short. That night wasn't an isolated incident. It was the culmination of everything you've ever made me feel." "Oh, please," Ashley said, rolling her eyes. "Stop acting like we abused you or something. So we had high standards. So we expected you to make something of yourself. That's not abuse, that's parenting." "No, that's not parenting. Parenting is loving your child unconditionally. It's supporting them when they fall, not leaving them lying on the ground. It's building them up, not tearing them down. You never did any of those things for me." "Because you never deserved it," Ashley spat out, and the mask finally slipped completely. "You were always a disappointment, always needy, always struggling, always making us look bad. Do you know how embarrassing it was having a sister who couldn't get her life together, who got knocked up by some loser and ended up a single mother working dead-end jobs?" The parking lot had gone silent. Everyone was watching, and I could see the shock on their faces. They were seeing exactly what I'd been dealing with. "Thank you, Ashley. Thank you for saying that where everyone can hear it. Now they don't have to wonder if I was exaggerating." She realized her mistake immediately. Her eyes went wide, and she looked around at all the phones pointed at us. "Wait, I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did. You meant every word. And that's fine. I don't need you to be different. I just need you to stay away from me and my son." That's when I saw the white van pulling into the parking lot. It had the 9 News Denver logo, and Sarah Chen stepped out with her cameraman. She'd told me she wanted to do a follow-up piece, and I'd mentioned I was worried about a confrontation. She'd offered to keep an eye out. My father saw the news van and went pale. "You set this up. You planned this whole thing." "I didn't. But I'm not sorry she's here." Sarah approached with her microphone, cameraman filming everything. "Mr. Martinez, Mrs. Martinez, Ashley Thornton, I'm Sarah Chen from 9 News. Would you like to comment on the allegations made by the black ice survivor?" "We have nothing to say," my father said quickly, grabbing my mother's arm. "Is it true that you left your daughter on an icy driveway during a blizzard after she broke her leg?" "That's a mischaracterization. We didn't know the extent of her injuries." "According to the police report, she told you her leg was broken and there was visible blood. How is that a mischaracterization?" My mother was crying harder, perfect makeup running. Ashley was silent, expression caught between fury and fear. They hurried to their cars, Sarah still asking questions, and drove away. The other parents stood in stunned silence. Then, one by one, several came up to me. A woman named Jennifer touched my arm gently. "I just want you to know, that was incredibly brave. My mother treated me the same way growing up, and I never had the courage to stand up to her. Thank you for showing me it's possible." Others echoed her sentiment. One man said he'd been estranged from his abusive parents for years and had always felt guilty, but my story made him realize he'd made the right choice. In that parking lot, surrounded by virtual strangers who understood my pain better than my own family ever had, I felt something I'd been searching for my entire life: validation. Not from them exactly, but from myself. I'd spoken my truth, held my ground, and refused to be gaslit anymore. I'd chosen myself and my son over their approval, and I'd survived. More than survived. I was beginning to thrive. That evening, Sarah's footage of the confrontation aired on the news. The segment showed Ashley's cruel words, my father's damage control attempts, my calm responses. Public reaction was swift and overwhelmingly supportive. My YouTube channel gained another 500,000 subscribers overnight. Donations to Safe Haven, Colorado tripled. I started receiving messages from people all over the country, sharing their stories and thanking me for giving them permission to walk away from toxic families. But more than viral fame or public support, what mattered most was what happened when I got home that night. Leo and I made spaghetti together, his favorite. We ate at our small kitchen table, and he told me about his day at school. Mama, he said as I was tucking him into bed, are the people from before ever going to come back? You mean Grandpa Richard and Grandma Eleanor and Aunt Ashley? He nodded, eyes serious. I don't think so, baby. Not for a long time, maybe not ever. How do you feel about that? He was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he said, I think it's okay. They weren't very nice. And we're happy now, right? I felt tears sting my eyes. Yeah, baby, we're happy now. Then that's all that matters, he said simply, with the profound wisdom of children. The weeks turned into months. Spring came to Denver, melting winter snow and bringing green back to trees. My leg healed, though I walked with a slight limp doctors said might be permanent. I didn't mind. It was a reminder of what I'd survived, what I'd overcome. Safe Haven, Colorado offered me a job as a peer counselor, working with other single mothers escaping toxic situations. It wasn't glamorous, and it didn't pay as much as my old corporate job, but it was meaningful in a way I'd never experienced. I was helping people, making a real difference, and that felt more valuable than any paycheck. The Black Ice Survivor platform continued to grow. I started a podcast interviewing other people who'd gone no contact with family members, providing a space for them to share stories without judgment. I wrote weekly blog posts about healing, setting boundaries, and building life on your own terms, and I used whatever influence I had to raise money for organizations supporting abuse survivors. 6 months after Thanksgiving, I received a letter from Ashley. The handwriting was shaky, unlike her usual perfect script. I almost threw it away, but curiosity got the better of me. The letter was long, rambling, and mostly self-pitying. She talked about how hard things had been, how Derek had filed for divorce, how she'd lost most friends, how people whispered wherever she went. She said she was in therapy, trying to understand why she'd behaved the way she had. Near the end, there was something that might have been an apology. I'm sorry if my actions hurt you. I didn't realize how my words came across. I was raised to value success and appearances, and I just wanted you to reach your potential. Maybe I went about it the wrong way. If my actions hurt you, maybe I went about it the wrong way. It wasn't a real apology. It was an excuse, a deflection, minimizing what she'd done. I wrote back, but not the way she probably expected. Ashley, thank you for your letter. I appreciate that you're in therapy and working on yourself. However, I'm not interested in rebuilding a relationship with you. What happened between us wasn't a misunderstanding or a difference in communication styles. It was years of cruelty, dismissiveness, and emotional abuse that culminated in you literally leaving me for dead. Therapy might help you understand why you behaved that way, but it doesn't change what you did, and it doesn't obligate me to forgive you or welcome you back into my life. I wish you well in your healing journey, but that journey doesn't include me. Please respect my boundaries and don't contact me again. Chloe. I mailed the letter and felt lighter immediately. I didn't owe her forgiveness. I didn't owe her anything. Around the same time, I started dating someone. His name was Marcus, and we met at a support group for single parents. He was raising his 7-year-old daughter alone after his ex-wife had abandoned them for a new life in California. He understood complicated family dynamics. He understood boundaries and respect. He understood me. Our first date was at a coffee shop, nothing fancy, and we talked for 3 hours. He made me laugh. He listened. He treated the waitress with kindness. All the little things that showed character. Leo and Marcus's daughter Zoe hit it off immediately. They became best friends, having playdates and sleepovers, building pillow forts and making up elaborate games. Watching them together, I saw what a healthy family could look like. Messy, imperfect, but full of love and acceptance. Marcus never pushed me to talk about my family before I was ready. When I finally told him the full story one night after the kids were asleep, he held my hand and said, "You're the strongest person I've ever met. And I'm honored that you trust me with your story." It wasn't perfect. I still had hard days, days when the pain of rejection hit me out of nowhere, days when I wondered if I'd made the right choice, if maybe I should have tried harder. But those days became fewer, and Marcus was always there to remind me that choosing myself wasn't selfish, it was necessary. A year after Thanksgiving, I decided to start a nonprofit organization. I called it the Black Ice Foundation, named after the invisible danger that had almost killed me but had ultimately set me free. The foundation's mission was to provide financial support, legal resources, and counseling services to people escaping abusive family situations. We started small, with just me and 2 volunteers working out of a rented office space. But word spread quickly, and within 6 months, we'd helped over 100 people. We paid for lawyers to help people get restraining orders, we covered moving expenses for people who needed to relocate, we funded therapy sessions and support groups. We did everything I wish someone had done for me before things got as bad as they did. The foundation grew beyond what I'd imagined. We received grants from larger organizations. Local businesses donated money and services. Volunteers came forward to help with everything from administrative work to running support groups. And every person we helped became an advocate, spreading the word and helping others in turn. The media attention continued, but it shifted. Instead of focusing on my family's cruelty, reporters started writing about the foundation's work, about the people we were helping, about the broader issue of family abuse and estrangement. I did interviews not to shame my family anymore, but to raise awareness and funds for the cause. One particularly memorable interview was with a national morning show. They flew me to New York, put me up in a nice hotel, and gave me a full segment to talk about the Black Ice Foundation. The hosts were warm and interested, asking thoughtful questions about the work we did and the people we served. At the end of the interview, one of the hosts asked, "Do you ever regret going public with your story? Do you ever wish you'd handled things privately?" I thought about it carefully before answering. No, because staying silent protects the people doing harm. It allows them to continue operating in the shadows, maintaining their image while destroying the people around them. Going public was the scariest thing I've ever done, but it was also the most liberating. And if my story helps even one person realize they deserve better, then it was worth every uncomfortable moment. The segment aired, and the foundation's donation page crashed from the sudden influx of traffic. We raised more than $50,000 in a single day. It was overwhelming and humbling and proof that there were so many people out there who understood, who cared, who wanted to help. As for my family, I heard about them occasionally through mutual acquaintances, though I never sought out information. My father had a heart attack about 8 months after our confrontation. He survived, but it was a wake-up call. According to someone who knew someone, he'd started going to therapy too, trying to understand why his children had both ended up wanting nothing to do with him. Yes. Children, plural. I'd learned through the grapevine that Ashley had gone no contact with our parents as well, though for different reasons than mine. My mother had apparently become something of a recluse, rarely leaving her house except for doctor's appointments. The shame of being publicly exposed had been too much for her to handle. Part of me felt sad about that. She'd built her entire identity around social status and appearances, and when that crumbled, she had nothing left. Ashley had moved to Phoenix and was working as a real estate agent under her maiden name. She'd reinvented herself, or tried to. I didn't know if she'd actually changed or just gotten better at hiding who she really was. I didn't wish them ill, exactly. I just wished them far away from me, and that wish had been granted. 2 years after Thanksgiving, the Black Ice Foundation held its first annual gala. It was a fundraiser at a downtown Denver hotel, with dinner, speeches, and an auction. We invited everyone who'd supported us, donors, volunteers, the people we'd helped, local politicians, and members of the media who'd covered our work fairly. I wore a dress I'd bought specifically for the occasion, deep blue and elegant. Marcus wore a suit and looked incredibly handsome. Leo and Zoe were there too, dressed up and excited to be at such a fancy event. Safe Haven, Colorado's director gave a speech about the foundation's impact. Officer Davis, who'd become a friend and regular volunteer, talked about the importance of holding abusers accountable. And then it was my turn to speak. I stood at the podium, looking out at the ballroom full of people who believed in our mission, and I felt a swell of emotion that almost overwhelmed me. 2 years ago, I'd been lying on an icy driveway, broken and abandoned, believing I was worthless. Now I was here, surrounded by people who valued me not for my appearance or my success or my ability to make them look good, but for who I actually was. I told a condensed version of my story, though most people there already knew it. I talked about the foundation's work and our plans for expansion. I thanked everyone who'd supported us. And then I shared something I'd never said publicly before. For most of my life, I said, I believed that family was everything, that blood ties were sacred and unbreakable. That no matter what happened, you stood by your family because that's what good people do. And I tried. God knows I tried. I bent myself into shapes I didn't recognize, trying to earn love that was never going to be freely given. I sacrificed my dignity, my happiness, my sense of self, all in the name of family loyalty. And where did it get me? Lying on ice, bleeding, watching my family drive away like I didn't matter, like I'd never mattered. I paused, composing myself. But here's what I learned. Family isn't about blood. Family is about love, respect, and showing up when it matters. Family is the people who see you at your worst and don't leave. It's the people who celebrate your victories and mourn your losses. It's the people who make room for you to be exactly who you are. And by that definition, I have more family now than I ever did growing up. I gestured to the room. You are my family. The volunteers who give their time to help strangers. The donors who believe in our mission. The people we've served who've gone on to help others. Officer Davis, who stayed with me in my darkest hour. Sarah Chen, who told my story with honesty and compassion. Marcus and Zoe, who've shown Leo and me what healthy love looks like. And all of you who are here tonight, supporting this work, you're my family, and I'm so grateful for every single one of you. The applause was thunderous. People stood up, and some were crying, and I felt like I might cry too, but they were good tears, healing tears, the kind that wash away old pain and make room for new joy. After my speech, we presented the first annual Black Ice Survivor Award to a woman named Patricia, who'd escaped a horrifically abusive situation with her 3 children and had gone on to become a therapist specializing in family trauma. She accepted the award with grace and humility, and her story reminded me why this work mattered so much. Later in the evening, as the formal program ended and people mingled, a young woman approached me. She looked nervous, twisting her hands together. "Miss Martinez?" "Please, call me Chloe," I said warmly. "I just wanted to thank you. I heard your story last year, and it gave me the courage to leave my parents' house. They weren't good people. They hurt me in ways I'm still processing. But I always thought I had to stay, that leaving would make me a bad daughter. Your story showed me that sometimes leaving is the bravest thing you can do." I hugged her, this stranger who wasn't really a stranger at all. "I'm so proud of you. It takes incredible strength to choose yourself." "I'm in college now. I'm studying social work. Because of you, because of this foundation. I want to help people the way you've helped me." This, I thought, this is why it was all worth it. Not the viral videos or the news coverage or the public vindication. This, helping people find their way out of the darkness. The gala raised over $200,000, far exceeding our expectations. With that money, we were able to open a second office in Colorado Springs and hire 3 full-time staff members. We launched a hotline for people needing immediate help and created a resource library with information about legal rights, therapy options, and practical steps for leaving abusive situations. Marcus proposed to me on a Sunday morning in June, 3 years after I'd crawled across that icy parking lot. We were at a park with Leo and Zoe, watching them play on the swings. It wasn't elaborate or showy. He just took my hand, looked into my eyes, and said, "I want to build a family with you, not because we have to, but because we choose to. Will you marry me?" I said yes, without hesitation. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony at the Botanical Gardens, surrounded by the people who mattered, Marcus's family, who'd welcomed me with open arms. Officer Davis, who walked me down the aisle, Sarah Chen, who served as one of my bridesmaids, the staff and volunteers from the Black Ice Foundation, and dozens of people whose lives had been touched by our work, people who'd become friends and chosen family. Leo was our ring bearer, taking his job very seriously. Zoe was the flower girl, tossing petals with enthusiastic abandon. When Marcus and I exchanged vows, promising to honor and respect each other through all of life's seasons, I meant every word. This was what love was supposed to look like, a choice made freely, renewed daily, built on mutual respect and genuine care. We honeymooned in Santa Fe while the kids stayed with Marcus's parents. We explored art galleries, ate incredible food, and talked about our dreams for the future. We wanted to buy a house together, big enough for our blended family. We wanted to grow the Black Ice Foundation into a national organization. We wanted to foster or adopt more children, giving a home to kids who needed one. Most of all, we wanted to keep building the life we'd both fought so hard to create, one based on authenticity, kindness, and love. When we returned from our honeymoon, there was a letter waiting for me. It was from my mother. I recognized the handwriting immediately, though it was shakier than before. I almost threw it away, but something made me open it. The letter was different from Ashley's had been. There were no excuses, no self-pity, no attempts to minimize what had happened. My mother wrote that she'd been in intensive therapy for over a year, working through her own childhood trauma and the toxic patterns she'd perpetuated. She wrote that she finally understood the damage she'd caused, not just to me but to Ashley as well. She wrote that she didn't expect forgiveness and wasn't asking to be part of my life again. "I'm writing simply to say I'm sorry," she wrote in conclusion. "I'm sorry for every time I made you feel less than. I'm sorry for prioritizing status over substance, image over integrity. I'm sorry for not protecting you when you needed protection. I'm sorry for not loving you the way a mother should love her child. You deserved so much better than what I gave you, and I will carry that regret for the rest of my life. I hope you've found happiness, Chloe. I hope you've found people who see your worth. And I hope that someday, even if it's not with me, you'll be able to feel the kind of unconditional love that I failed to provide. With deep regret and sincere wishes for your well-being, your mother." I read the letter 3 times, sitting alone in our home office. It was the apology I'd wanted for so many years, finally articulated in the way I'd needed to hear it. But the strange thing was, I didn't need it anymore. I'd already healed. I'd already moved on. I'd already built a life full of love and purpose. Still, it felt like closure. Like the final page of a chapter I'd been trying to finish for years. I wrote back, keeping it brief. Thank you for your letter and your apology. I appreciate that you're doing the work to understand and change. I'm glad you're in therapy and I hope it brings you peace. However, I'm not ready to have you in my life, and I don't know if I ever will be. I've built something beautiful from the ashes of what happened, and I need to protect that. I wish you well. Chloe. I mailed the letter and felt a sense of peace settle over me. I didn't hate my mother anymore. I didn't hate any of them. Hate requires energy. Requires engagement. Requires caring. I simply didn't care anymore. They were part of my past, not my present or my future, and that was okay. The years continued to unfold, each one bringing new challenges and new joys. The Black Ice Foundation expanded to 5 cities across Colorado and started receiving inquiries from organizations in other states who wanted to replicate our model. We published a handbook on supporting estranged family members and offered training for therapists and social workers. We became a recognized voice in the conversation about family abuse and the right to walk away. Leo grew into a thoughtful, compassionate teenager who volunteered at the foundation during his school breaks. He wanted to be a therapist when he grew up, he said, to help kids who were going through what we'd gone through. I couldn't have been prouder. Marcus and I bought our house, a rambling 4-bedroom in a neighborhood full of families. We fostered 2 children, siblings aged 5 and 7, who'd been removed from an abusive home. After a year, we adopted them, and our family grew to 6. It was chaotic and loud and sometimes overwhelming, but it was filled with laughter and love and the kind of safety I'd dreamed of as a child. 5 years after Thanksgiving, 9 News Denver did a follow-up piece on the Black Ice survivor story. Sarah Chen interviewed me again, this time in my home, surrounded by my family. She asked me what I wanted people to know, all these years later. I want people to know that you can survive, I said. More than survive, you can thrive. The people who hurt you don't get to define your worth or determine your future. You do. And when you walk away from toxicity, you're not being selfish or cruel. You're being brave. You're choosing life. And on the other side of that choice, there's a whole world of people waiting to love you the way you deserve to be loved. The segment ended with footage of our family. Marcus and me cooking dinner together while the kids did homework at the kitchen table, all of us laughing at some joke someone had made. It was ordinary and beautiful and exactly what I'd always wanted. The segment aired on Thanksgiving Day, a deliberate choice by Sarah to mark the anniversary of where it all began. That evening, we hosted dinner at our house. Not a formal affair with expensive china and rigid etiquette, but a casual gathering with mismatched plates and paper napkins, and people sitting wherever they could find room. Officer Davis was there, retired now but still a dear friend. Sarah Chen and her wife came, bringing homemade pies. The staff from Safe Haven, Colorado brought their families. Some of the people we'd helped through the foundation came, bringing dishes from their own cultural traditions, turning our Thanksgiving into a beautiful potluck of different heritages and stories. Before we ate, I stood up to say a few words. 5 years ago tonight, I was lying on an icy driveway, broken and alone, thinking my life was over. I was wrong. My old life was over. The life where I bent myself into shapes trying to earn love that would never come. But my real life was just beginning. I looked around at all the faces, at this chosen family that filled our home with warmth and joy. This is what family looks like. Not perfection, not matching clothes and rehearsed smiles, but people who show up for each other, who love each other through the hard times and the good times. People who see your worst moments and don't leave. People who celebrate your victories like they're their own. This is family, and I'm grateful for every single person in this room. We held hands around the table, all of us together, and said what we were thankful for. When it came to Leo, now 11 years old and wise beyond his years, he said, I'm thankful that Mama is brave, because her bravery made it possible for all of us to be together. I squeezed his hand, tears in my eyes, and thought about that night 5 years ago. The cold, the pain, the sound of car engines starting and driving away, the despair of thinking I'd been abandoned by the people who were supposed to love me most. They had abandoned me. That was true. But in doing so, they'd freed me to find something better. Something real. The black ice had been invisible, dangerous, nearly fatal, but I'd survived it. More than that, I'd transformed it into something meaningful, something that helped others find their way to safety. The foundation that bore that name had helped over 1,000 people escape toxic family situations. It had saved marriages, protected children, given hope to people who thought they had none left. Later that night, after everyone had gone home and the kids were in bed and Marcus was cleaning up the kitchen, I stepped outside into the cold November air. The temperature had dropped, and there was frost on the grass, glittering in the moonlight. It looked a little like ice, and for a moment, I was transported back to that night. But I wasn't afraid. I'd faced the worst and survived. I'd faced abandonment and betrayal and the shattering realization that the people I'd loved most didn't love me back, and I'd come out stronger on the other side. Marcus came out to join me, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders. What are you thinking about? How far we've come, how different life is now. Better? Immeasurably better. I wouldn't change any of it, not even the bad parts, because they led me here, to this, to you, to our family. No regrets? I thought about it carefully, honestly. Did I regret standing up to my family? Did I regret going public with my story? Did I regret choosing myself and my son over their approval? Not even one, I said. We stood there together in the cold, watching our breath form clouds in the air, and I felt completely at peace. The girl I'd been, the one who'd bent herself into pretzels trying to earn crumbs of affection, was gone. In her place was a woman who knew her worth, who'd built a life on her own terms, who'd turned her pain into purpose. The black ice had tried to kill me. Instead, it had set me free. And now, standing in the warmth of the life I'd created, surrounded by people who loved me not despite my flaws but including them, I understood something fundamental. You don't need everyone to love you. You just need the right people. And when you find them, when you build your family from choice rather than obligation, that's when you finally understand what love is supposed to feel like. 5 years ago, they left me on the ice. Tonight, I was warm, safe, loved, whole. They thought they'd won. They thought they'd proven I was nothing without them. But standing there in the frost with my husband beside me and my children sleeping safely inside, I knew the truth. I'd won. Not by destroying them, though their own actions had consequences, but by refusing to let their cruelty define me, by building something beautiful from the ruins of what they'd tried to break, by choosing, every single day, to be the person they said I could never be. I was enough. I'd always been enough. It just took leaving them behind to see it. And that realization, that bone-deep certainty of my own worth, was the greatest victory of all. The frost glittered like diamonds under the moonlight, and I smiled. Let it freeze. Let it snow. Let the ice come. I wasn't afraid anymore. I'd already survived the coldest night of my life, and I'd emerged on the other side, not just alive, but thriving. That was the real story. Not the fall, not the abandonment, not the viral fame or the public reckoning. The real story was what came after. The building, the healing, the choosing, the loving, the living. The real story was me, finally free.